All right, we're on the next episode of Blood Money, and today we have a very special guest, somebody who I deeply admire, Scott McKay. How you doing, sir?
Fantastic, my friend, but I'll get better. How are you?
Good, man. Good. It's really nice to have you on this show. I mean, we've been following you for a real long time now, and I mean, you've been deep in the whole freedom movement. So let's just dive into it. The thing that was really mind blowing in terms of your bio, it to me was the challenges that you had, this accident that you had, how you recovered, how spirituality, Christianity helped you recover, and your knowledge in quantum physics. I mean, please tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Yeah, I had this catastrophic motorcycle crash back in 2014. I know some of you get tired of hearing the story. I get tired of telling it, but it's an important story from my purpose and my mission in life. Knowingly what I was going to do and why this happened to me. So, being a high performance athlete all of my adult life, one day, after this catastrophic incident or 11 days afterwards, now I'm pulled out of this coma
Mm-hmm.
and I'm left in this wrecked hall. Like it's a nightmare of epic proportions when you come out of something like that because your brain is in a state of what's called ICU psychosis. It's trying to rectify where you are, what happened to the point in time when you had this catastrophic incident, and then 11 days of, not being fully conscious and waking up in a place like, trying to figure out who you are, where you are. So this all happened on a road in Montville, New Jersey called Passaic Valley Road, where I laid a Harley Davidson into the side of a van at 50 miles an hour, trying to save my ass from what was a death sentence. Because once it was unfolding, I'm coming around a bend and I see a van straddling the road. It's like a 2-lane road where, like in a neighborhood, but not a it's not a stop sign neighborhood road, but one of those ones that keep going until you turn into a community. And anyway, so the van's there. I hit the back brake, sort of not panic, but startled, hit the back brake to slow the bike down. The ass end starts sliding to the right and I'm in a right-hand turn. So to recover that, you got to turn the opposite way to get control of the bike, which is opposite of the turn. But it's putting me dead on to a van, which slowed down really quick and turned sideways kind of up onto a curb. And then my bike, this Harley Davidson, as I'm coming in, I decide to throw it down on its side to slow it down, which that doesn't work. I knew I was dead. So it was like, how do I slow it down? And boom, the underside of the engine and the frame hit 50 miles an hour to zero. So it blows up through my pelvis,
Wow.
blows my pelvis off, my spine blows my, like a open book fracture, they call it, when your anterior pelvis in the front just comes apart. It's
Mm-hmm.
like when a lady dilates, like she's going to give birth. Well, mine apparently had blown open that I could have given birth to a 30-pound baby, I was told.
Wow.
So with that, I had my left femur broke into 7 pieces, spiral fractured, my left foot counter rotated opposite an ankle sprain, a normal ankle sprain, and nearly fully severed, exposing my ankle bone, busted into the back half, flew out the back of my foot. It was in my boot contained, so lucky for me, it didn't pop out on the sidewalk. So I
Wow.
had vertebrae fractures and ribs and every organ in my body was in a massive state of trauma, and probably my brain too, because even though I didn't hit my head, which had I not laid it down, it was instant death because it's just a head injury and it's over, helmet or no helmet, which I had a helmet on. But
Mm-hmm.
so that left me with these catastrophic, injuries, laying on the road that day, face down after this grotesque hit, and you hear things just busting apart,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't breathing, and then that's when I knew. When I wasn't breathing, your brain goes a million miles an hour. It's amazing how fast it goes through the whole thing. It was like slow in a matter of seconds. It slowed down to minutes of thinking. Right.
Wow.
So then when I had these convulsions like arching my back when I was laying face down on the road, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. What's going on? I realized, okay, you're not breathing. And I see the blood coming out of your mouth and going on the ground, and I'm like, your brain just says, okay, here's what's going on. You're not breathing. That downward force probably severed your lungs or whatever. And that's why you're not breathing. And now you're going to die. And then I had that experience. Like, I'm
Wow.
not, like, I remember looking this way. I could just turn my head this way a little bit. And I saw this fence and I'm like, I'm going to die. And I thought, right here, right now, right here. right now. Okay. And then the wave came over me, and it just like that wave of peace, because I've been studying quantum physics, you know, and also knowing, what I know about, the Bible and God, but the quantum physical realm, I just thought, here's what's really going to happen and why and how. And then of course it settled over me. I just remember putting my forehead down on the road, and my brain's like, you're just going to fade to black in about, 30-40 seconds, fade to black.
Mm-hmm.
And then that comes over you, and you feel this, this drift, this very, it just this, it's like anesthesia hits you, you're out like 99,
Mm-hmm.
98, boom, you wake up like, hey, wait, I was about ready to say 97. Now you just come out of 8 hours of surgery. It's not like
Wow.
that. It's this drift. And at some point I remember, when you're fading to black, and then at some point I remembering hearing this horrible sound, and it's just this horrible, and I say it's like somebody was stabbing a walrus to death. I've never seen or heard that, so I have no idea where I got that, but that's the noise. And I'm thinking, where's the white light? Where's the white light? And at some point I now am fading back in. The noise I was hearing was my lungs were just firing away, trying to start breathing again, I guess. And obviously they did, because now I'm fading back in, and I was shocked, like holy shit, I'm still alive, right? So that whole thing caused me to go into this life event where I had to rectify, how could this possibly happen to me? What, I'm trapped in this rec hall, horrific pain. Every time they walk into my room, I'm going to start almost cry, because I could see my vitals skyrocketing, because I know they're going to turn me, because they
Wow.
put 6-inch screws into each side of my pelvis, into my sacral spine to hold it on. They
Wow.
plated my anterior pelvis right in the front above the pubic line. They plated that. They winched it together, plated it together. I kept surviving these surgeries, which they didn't feel were survivable. And then they had to, open my whole, slice me down my hip, down the side of my leg, open it all up, tear it apart, find out the bone fragments, try to puzzle them together, and then put a long plate on the outside of my femur with 12 screws holding it in, and then they had to reattach my left foot, rebuild the
Oh,
ankle.
wow.
I got a spinal fusion L5S1 that, lucky for me, held it all together. But so you wake up to that, and you wonder, why you? Well, it took me about 3 weeks when I could catch my breath from the horrific nightmare, the pain and everything else. And then I realized, this is my moment. This is where I get to prove my philosophy that I've been espousing to people for decades. So now I'm being called out by God himself. Okay, I'm calling you on your bullshit. Let's see if you can prove, what you've been saying and thinking. And I call it the Christ consciousness. So I had my moment to say this was supposed to happen to me, and this is what I'm now going to do. I'm going to unleash myself with my own philosophy, that I believe God's path for me was different. It brought me right back home to, a non-belief in a connection to God, to an absolute metaphysical, spiritual, and physical connection to my creator. And I always knew I was here for something that was going to be somewhat combative. It was going to be the U.S. Senate, but all that shit went away when I realized they're all criminals.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked away from that, and this was what I was put here to do, and to make that comeback. I was homeless, crippled, and penniless 8 months after the crash, almost by design too, because the weight of basically an ultimatum came on me, and I had to make a choice. Do I stay in a safe environment, in a home, and built for my protection, and ramps and chairlifts, or do I call the bluff and end up homeless, crippled, and penniless? And I called the bluff, because I had 2 wars to fight. This one, to rebuild this and walk, and then this life events that were coming down on me that had me trapped, and I couldn't win both wars. So I chose the latter. I call it the FU option. And then I went to war. I was taken in by somebody, a very wonderful human being in my life from the past, and a client of mine, and brought me into his home, an elderly gentleman. And it's like, you got a bedroom, a bathroom, you're done with that. And because I refused the disability check, because I didn't want my brain to think I was disabled, I had
Mm-hmm.
a 5-year battle every day on this wreckage. Just go to war and take the pain, and we're going to make this thing, the Christ consciousness, rewire this so I can at least look relatively normal. as long as I keep
Wow.
my So as long as I keep my Herman Munster boot on the other side, because that leg is busted badly. But so once I make this 5-year comeback, and I finally did start working again, I said, I'm going to walk. I don't care what they say. I'm I'm going to work again. I don't care what they say. And I'm going to ride again. I don't care what anybody says. So I get
Wow.
my Harley Davidson, moved to Dallas from Los Angeles. And 5 years later, I accomplished phase 3. I got my dream twisted cherry colored Street Glide special, and just looking up, my God. And I'm like, we made it. We made it. I knew
Wow.
I'd make it.
Wow.
And then one day, to 10:30 at night, down the street here, I live downtown Dallas, coming through an intersection, and Moody and Cedar Springs, big intersection, 5 lanes. And as I'm coming through it, out of nowhere, wham, I got taken out by a high speed, big Texas pickup truck from the left side, destroyed me again. I'm flying through the air.
Whoa. So this is after 2014. Later on, 5 years later, you get hit again?
Yeah, it was the first one was April 26th, 2014. The second one was July 26th, 2019. I don't know. There
Damn,
must
dude. So you're like well in your, recovery, and then you get hit again.
yeah. So that was the one that was unbelievable, because here I am, right? And so I'm flying through the air. It was such an abrupt shock to me to feel this, and it got everything. It's funny for the second time. And I'm
Mhm.
like down here, the hood of the pickup's up here. I get taken out. My legs are out on the highway pegs. Wham! And next thing, I'm flying through the air, and I'm not thinking, how did you get out of a head injury that killed you again, second time, which should have.
Wow.
So I'm
Wow.
flying through the air across 5 lanes, like Superman. My bike's underneath me; it's flying too, and I'm headed for a curb. And I'm thinking, my brain's like going, I don't know if you're even going to make it out of this one, because I'm headed for a curb, like almost like head first.
Wow.
Somehow I land on my back and between a curb and a sidewalk. And I'm like, first thing I thought was, I looked around, I saw I'm laying on my back in the grass. And first thought was, holy shit, I just landed in the only patch of grass in downtown Dallas. Like
Wow, man.
things are looking up. Things are looking up, and I'm like, I think about my leg, and I reach down, and my shoulder, whole side's hurting like hell. And I just reached down, because they gave me 30% chance that I would keep that foot because of the
Wow.
damage and all that. So I lift my thigh up, and I can see right below where the metal stops and the knee is, it just goes like this. A
Mm.
perfect femur just broke it completely. And right about 6 inches above where they reattached my foot and the ankle, rebuilt that, it shattered. My femur and tibia turned down 90 degrees and facing inward. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to take my leg this time. And I was like,
Wow.
so I end up in Baylor Trauma Center here. Amazing surgeons for the second time. I'm begging them, please save my leg. I'm like telling them my story. I'm like, trust me, give me one more chance. I guarantee I will make it back again. And I remember when they pulled these body scans up, and they're looking at the screen and all this metal in me, I could just see them like going,
Wow.
I'm thinking, oh man, I'm in real trouble. So, anyways, they kept my leg. They ended up opening my leg up again. They drove a nail up through my femur from my knee upward. Then they drove one from my knee the whole way to the bottom to, hold all that mess together. And then they had to rebuild my foot itself and all kinds of metal in there. So, pretty much, that's why when I travel with Sasha Stone, he's like, you know what? He said, I've been hammering away on this transhumanistic agenda for a long time. And here I am traveling with a fucking cyborg.
Mhm. That's funny, man. This is like almost to me, it rings like a medical freedom story, because you basically use your own autonomy to the power of mind, power of spirit to basically heal yourself.
Yeah, and that's why I've said to people, look, people look at me and say, that's just amazing, and like, you're so amazing. And I'm like, stop. It's not that I'm so amazing. All right. It's that all of us, can do everything that I just came through and did, every one of us. That's why Christ said,
Mhm.
these work, these works you will do, and even greater than I. Let me repeat it, because I
Yeah.
say this from every stage in America with the General Flynn Reawaken Tour, Clay Clark Reawaken Tour. Christ said this. What does he mean? These works you will do, and even greater than I. I'm like, is Christ the bullshitter?
Mhm.
Christ was trying to tell us what he knows, what he learned, what he'd come to be. And that's why they killed him. They
Yeah.
could not afford to have people understanding that we are all part of our creator. We are in the likeness and image of our Creator, which
Mhm.
means we have the power of our Creator, which means we can do what Christ did
Mhm.
and Christ is still doing today, the Christ consciousness. That's how I describe it. And that's why I know we're going to win this battle, because we finally have broken down their veil of secrecy. And I'm going to keep, I knew my job and my opportunity was that this is my moment. I'm going to use my philosophy. I'm going to put the power of everything in motion, no matter how bleak it is, how broke I am, how many years I have to eat eggshells because I had no money to buy calcium to heal these bones. Um, this is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to tell the world, this is what Christ was trying to tell us. Therefore, stop waiting for Christ to drop on the planet, put his feet on the ground and say, wow, what a shit show you guys have allowed this to become since I left. Let me reward you. I'm going to bring you up to heaven, turn you loose up there and see what you kids can do. Like,
Mhm.
now it's an action plan. Christianity is an action plan. So
Exactly.
that's the whole story, and now if you look at me, I mean, if I walk up to you, I can make it so you have no idea that I'm still paralyzed or all the damage. Unless you look at my left foot, you'll see a boot. It's got, my biker boots have a platform added to them. It's because my
Yeah.
legs are so badly, it's about an inch and a half shorter. But other than that, you know,
That's
uh,
one of the most miraculous stories I've heard in my life. I mean, it's almost like God put you up to these challenges in order to build you. And when you're saying that, yes, we all have the power, I don't know. I tend to think that, yes, we do all have the power, but it's these challenges in life. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that came before these accidents. But I think that's what kind of makes us.
I knew it was going to make me, and I can tell you, it's not easy. I can assure you, I can make it sound easy, but the pain was horrific. When and I learned this from a physical therapist, this beautiful Indian lady from India who
Hmm.
actually said to me, Scott, she said, "You're going to walk again." Something that she figured out about me, because in the amount of pain I was in the rehab hospital, I would, unleash myself. And I was, when I'm in a wheelchair doing things, but she could see clearly I was terrified to death when they would move me out of a bed and finally got me into an upright, like a not quite upright, laying back position. I was so weak and so scared because I was like a rickety picnic table where the bolts were loose. It was old, and that's how my skeleton would give. And I was so afraid because if I hit the floor or fell or jarred myself, it becomes catastrophic. And so I couldn't even hold my head up. They'd had to put, I was like 225 pounds when this happened. I'm now 165 pounds. I'm a skeleton, right? And my
Wow.
head was so weak. They had to put something back here to hold my head up because I could, like a baby, newborn baby, I couldn't even hold my head up. So, but this lady saw how I would but I was on the national competitive bodybuilding stage, so it wasn't elite for me. It wasn't heroic to fight that hard. My brain was wired for that, beating the hell out of my body like this for years. So I was prepared for that. But I was willing. When I was in it, I got out of a wheelchair. I don't know, months after. I was in a bed for months at home, but
Hmm.
but when I could get out of a wheelchair on Moby legs, I got into my vehicle and I wasn't allowed to drive. I wasn't supposed to drive or allowed to, but I did anyways. Went to a gym down the road and I'm crutching myself in there. And the people that hadn't been there long, but people that knew me, like, saw this horrific sight. Like, here I come in, this like scarecrow, and like they didn't know what happened. And I'd start there and I'd be like, you know what? I started to do things like on an upper body machines. And this nurse had been in there one day. She was in there and she walked over and she couldn't believe that this Indian nurse couldn't believe that she saw me in this place because I'm holding onto a machine and my left leg's paralyzed. So it's worthless. But my right
Hmm.
leg, obviously, I had some strength, but I would pull myself up and down to give my lower body this mimicking like I'm actually doing something. And she said, that's why you're going to walk, Scott. She goes, because people, when they're in pain, they don't move. That's their response. Don't move. The pain is so great. And here you are, you're not only moving, you're ramping it up times 10 and putting yourself through this. She said, that's why you're going to walk again. And I was
Wow.
like, kind of pumped me up a little bit. But anyways, it all sucked, and the worst part was, your whole life's gone.
Hmm.
The people that you once knew, the businesses I had, I lost my company, the business relationships I had. My life was pretty good at that time, but all that stuff just fell away and you're left on your own because people just kind of like, They feel
Yeah.
sorry. They don't really want to be part of that. Later on, when you come back, they're like, "Hey, why didn't you? Whatever, I would have." Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I heard the world knew
Yeah.
what happened to me. It was all over Facebook. But I had this world that I lived in, and I thought, okay, I'm going to protect my mind, and I'm
Hmm.
going to protect it all. And regardless of what they think and what they see of me, I'm going to fight because this is my moment that I've always wanted to overcome the fear of life, overcome somebody saying no to me, overcoming failing, overcoming people thinking things or saying things about me or whatever, all the shit that keeps us down.
Hmm.
They were doing all of it, and I looked pathetic. And God love him. Look at him come. I mean, look what happened to Scott McKay. That's what goes on in their head.
Hmm.
I'm not
Hmm.
picking on him, but it's just normal. And basically, this sort of respect people have for you, it just kind of changes. Like uh, they don't want to be you,
Yeah.
but and you have all of that weighing on your soul, your mind, and the world you once had is gone. Well, I thought, talk about clearing the table. Like none of that shit can hold me back. It's right there. Like you're on your own, buddy. And
Wow.
other than people taking me in, but I knew the whole time that that was exactly the prescription I needed for what I wanted to become in my life. And it's amazing because looking back at all of it, people think bad things happen to you. Woe is me. I never let that happen in my whole life. If I had a shitty,
Hmm.
terrible day, nobody knew it ever. Like, because I'd keep a smile and I'm not putting my bullshit on other people. But I needed that to be an example for me, obviously, and for people to understand that no matter what's weighing them down. Like I knew decades before this day was coming for Patriot Street Fighter. I had
Wow.
no idea it would be this. I thought it was going to be a senator in Washington, D.C., raining hell down on these same criminals that are all around me. I had no idea I walked away in 2006, but I just knew, and I've known this most of my adult life. This day is coming where I'm going to have to, rally this battle cry on the country. And I told my mother this in 2008 when I lost another company, and she's like, "Why do you do this?" I'm like, "You won't make sense to you, I'm sure, but I just all I can tell you is I've got to hit a home run ball so I have enough money, enough wealth so no man owns me, because something tells me that the day's coming in this country where we're going to be pushed to the brink, and I'm going to have to stand up and rally a battle cry in this country to get it on its feet to fight, or we're going to lose it all." And I
Yeah.
said that in 2008, 2020 Patriot Street Fighter hits, right? Who would have known
Yeah.
that I get to do that? So that's the whole story from front to back, why I'm in this show with you. I get all that behind me
That
now.
that
What do you want to
that
talk
is like
about?
that is the most amazing story. I mean, it's obviously, like, I mean, I think these challenges, like I said, like these are God sent challenges that build us into the people that we're supposed to become. And now you've become like a major leader in this movement, highly respected. I mean, looking at it in retrospect, like 9 years ago on the side of the road, thinking you're going to die. I mean, there's divinity in all of this. I mean, did you feel that or?
Yeah, even though I walked away from God in 1999 as born again Christian since I was 14, always wanting to be the guy that God would say, "There's one of mine. This is a good man," etc. Now, don't now it wasn't perfect. I get sin with the best of them, but all of my life it was always to be, this good person. And 99, at some point, I mean, I'm living in Los Angeles at the time, and my world just came unglued one day on the road on the freeway. I broke down in tears, like sobbing, like, what the hell's going on? And it was just this constant weight. Nothing in my life was going right. And that's when I finally looked up and said, F you, literally, like full
Mhm.
blown. I'm done. Drop the anvil on me. I don't give a shit. Drop it. I'm done living like this. And I walked away, right, from the
Mhm.
Bible, from God. And it wasn't that I just said there's no God, whatever, completely agnostic. I just like, this prescription is bullshit, all of it. And
Mhm.
and I,
Mhm.
and I know there's a blueprint, and I'm going to figure it out. So quantum physics became that track of my life, studying quantum physics. And that just was the first thing that finally, although I couldn't understand it, I mean, like but I kept reading and reading until finally everybody's brain will do this. It'll start to form patterns of recognition to where you can learn anything, period. I don't care if you got all D's in high school. I don't give a shit. The brain is the brain. It is
Mhm.
what it is. You exercise it like a muscle. You stay at it. It's going to grow and expand. And I understood that. And so that's what allowed me to have this experience where I came full circle back to God. And
Mhm.
it hit me one night. I always wanted the big whammy. And finally, one night that happened when I was in bed, and I was like roughly 2017, 2018. That's like one thing you should remember: the date, the time, the exact whatever. I don't. I just know when I went to, it was in my mind. I was like in this quantum physical realm, and I'm learning about, the secret space programs and these enormous things of mystery and magnitude that have been kept from humanity. Like, it's all been kept from humanity, like highly advanced non-terrestrial life interacting with the criminals here, of course, but they have this benevolence toward humanity because we're genetic royalty, and their whole purpose is to keep ascending spiritually to source, what we call God. They just call it source, and that's their intention, to keep moving closer and closer to God and source. But they have to help us like rise as well, or they can't. And I'm like, my God, if there are these beings that are billions of years more advanced than we are, and they're trying to move closer to our creator, there really is a creator. There really is a God. And so that is what propelled me to say, I need to know. I need to know. And I go to bed one night, and laying on my right side, upside down in my bed, where I was, given a place to stay. I have no idea why, what reason I did, but I just happened to be, and I had that sort of a presence on my shoulder that caused me to stir in the middle of the night, sleeping. And as soon as I felt, it's like, nobody's in your room and nobody's touching me. It's like right now there's this presence, and I just remember, and I'm not mystical, it's just not my nature. But as soon as I felt that, my brain, I'm half asleep. My brain just said, "Is that you?" And as soon as that happened, this unbelievable wave, this light vibration, sensation, whatever, just swept right through me. And it was like this, I kind of feel it now, describe it. It's like this state of vibrational bliss. And I remember thinking, it's like the dream you're having. You're about ready to kiss a beautiful girl, and you start to wake up. You're like, don't wake up. Don't you dare wake up. And so I kind of had that in my mind. Don't wake up. Don't wake up. Just be. And so I did. And then when that whole thing just dissipated, it's like I must have had a smile on my face. I remember all of it. I went back to sleep. And then I woke up the next day, and I've been in a state of, I've never had inner peace in my whole life. And from that day forward, regardless of what people see in a camera, I have inner peace. And that's when I knew I had made my connection with my creator. And that was the most probably powerful thing that ever happened to me. So,
yeah. I mean, though, for those that know you, I mean, you go after fearlessly, and I'm talking the biggest balls I've seen on the planet against some of the biggest scumbags. And when I first met you, I remember you making certain statements that I was like, wow, dude, that's like the gutsiest statement I've ever heard about the status quo, why we are where we are, why we have the problems we have. I want to get to that topic, but I want to go through your journey of how this started, because you were in the establishment. You were talking about running for the Senate. You were working with, the George W. Bush team. Something obviously significant happened there that started you upon this journey. Take us through that journey, please, and how it got to this point of where we are in 2023 in terms of your politics.
Well, back in 1990, first of all, I loved Reagan. I remember the first election I had knowledge of for me was in the 5th grade, because Jimmy Carter was running for office, and we were going to have a vote in our class. Of course, I don't remember who won the vote, but I remember voting for Jimmy Carter because he was a peanut farmer, and it just sort of this folksy, like I could relate to this. I was lower middle class, very hardworking family. Parents were the anchor. My upbringing, my dad, most people know who the general is. Ex-military, so he's an Army guy. I went to boot camp for the first 18 years of my life. He was raising good people, so I just kind of associated myself with Jimmy Carter. So then Reagan comes on, and of course, I'm growing up through high school, and Reagan was, amazing. And so then the first time I had political aspirations were when I was doing a research paper in college on the Vietnam War. I realized a bunch of these bastards in DC polishing seats with their ass are sending men into horrible battlefields to be slaughtered because they're expendable material for political purposes, which were never going to, they could have solved the problem by blackening the skies over Hanoi, literally with B-52s, and ending the whole thing. But yet they won't do that. They'll take a hill, leave it, Hamburger Hill, take it again, massive U.S. casualties, walk away, take it, all that bullshit. So
Mm-hmm.
planted a seed. I hear Newt Gingrich in 1990. I'm going to think Hershey Arena. Newt Gingrich is speaking on the stage. And he was saying, Ronald Wilson Reagan changed the history of the human race. It was such a powerful message. And he was an obscure minority whip from Marietta, Georgia at the time. He wasn't known yet.
Mm-hmm.
But so that kind of hit my soul, and I paid attention. And by the 92 elections, obviously, Clinton shows up in the scene. He's going to run. And I look at this guy, and something told me this is a bad dude. So
Mm-hmm.
it's then that I started to research Bill Clinton. And so for the next 6 years, roughly, I was, in there. I started working political campaigns, like local stuff. A friend's going to be a county coroner. He's trying to be, and I'm going to help however, I could do. And then I started getting involved in elective politics, just, volunteering, helping, like Rick Santorum senator election, other people. I just do things. And then it got deeper and deeper. By the time I'm 1996, I end up in Los Angeles. And being as bright as I am, I decided to work elective politics as a conservative Republican in a place like Los Angeles. So I got my head shot off, of course, but eventually, I became a precinct captain in Los Angeles for the Bush election in 2000, and then again in 2004. And I took a position on the Central Committee as a treasurer there. In 2004, worked in the Bush campaign. Then Mark Eisler, who was a great assembly candidate in California, asked me to be his campaign manager. So, of course, I'm doing all this stuff. And my objective was to work my way, not through the political wreckage to get to Washington, D.C. It was to, business-wise, create enough wealth so nobody owns me, so I could then run for the U.S. Senate. And I would have to be wealthy because I wanted to go there and rain a shitstorm on all the bullshit that all of them are doing. And I knew they'd run me out of town, and I'd have something to go back to, a nice lifestyle. If not, then they're going to have me forever, because who's going to give that up? Ass kiss a government credit card for the best restaurants in Georgetown, the imposition that you really have power, which you don't. You're just a pawn. Or it's a hell of a lot better than going back to, Podunk, Kentucky or Pennsylvania where I grew up or whatever. Nobody's going to do that. They're going to take what they can because they realize I'm just a useless turd here. As long as I just follow them, I'm going to be an important person. And I knew I couldn't do that. So by 2006, when I finally recognized a few years prior that 911 was an inside attack by the Bush cabal machine, the clowns in America, Mossad.
Could I ask you about that real quick? I mean, how did that make you feel that you had dedicated all this time to the George W. Bush campaign only to learn that, a lot of Americans died, doing this extremely cruel act?
Well, you can imagine. I walked away from all of it. And I thought, what can I do? I was so enraged. I thought I gave up so much of my earning power and time, not just when I was actually active in elections, but always down the rabbit hole, like constantly, trying to tell people things and wake them up. And I was, oh, that's just Scott. Like, don't ask him any of these questions because you're going to want to, it'll be a load you just can't get away from, or you want to hang the phone up. Hey, man, I really got to go. I endured all that shit forever. And not that I'm faulting people for it. It's a state of where we are. But I just was so pissed. And I thought, you know what? I'm done. I'm not giving one more dime of my life to this cause because nobody gives a shit. These people are, at the highest levels of power, the U.S. presidents are criminals, cabal controlled criminals. Everybody from Kennedy has been a deep state criminal except Reagan and Trump. Every president. And
even Kennedy?
Every president since Kennedy. Kennedy was her. Kennedy being a Democrat, they say womanizer, all this stuff. I don't even know what's true there because he went right at him, head on, right at him, and they killed him.
I'd vote for Kennedy today. I'm a Republican, and I'd vote for Kennedy. Over anybody, honestly. Maybe if it's him versus Trump, it's a challenge.
This would have never been anywhere on my desk, in my house, in my life, until I learned the truth from the Q intelligence operation, and I started learning the truth about JF Kennedy. He's become my hero. And because of who he is, what he stood for. And Trump, of course, same thing, an attack machine on this deep state power structure. And so, when I first moved to Las Vegas, lived in Summerlin, against the Western Mountain Range there, and I was opening a kind of a high-end Pilates-based physical therapy elite fitness center there with some partners, and Kevin Wynn, Steve's daughter, was really helping me make inroads into the community, letting people know we're there, and she and her husband invited me to dinner one night because they wanted to pull me into Nevada politics, and I said. They found out about my background. I said, look, let me be, and I was very gracious. I wasn't flattered by it, but I'm like, let me explain something. That's over. I have one interest, money, business, and making money. That's it. I'm done with that. So I just, I was invited to some political events, and I remember Jim Gibbons was a governor, and we had McCain, the McCain Obama election. And here's the governor of Nevada, Gibbons, or Gibson, what was his name? Gibbons. So I got invited to this victory party, right? And it was really a loser's party because McCain, who is also a scumbag traitor that was executed by the military secretly in a military tribunal for treason. Wow. Here's McCain losing, right? And I'm looking around this place. It was on the Strip, a really amazing place, and all these beautiful looking people, and well dressed, and they're having the life of the night. They're having the time of their life that day, and having this incredible setting, and they're hobnobbing. And I remember the person invited me, bringing me up and introducing me to the governor. And he says, and I don't know what he said to me. And I just said, well, I said, well, we're the problem. The problem's not the Democrats, it's the Republicans. He's looking at me, and I'm like, Governor, look around you. I said, I see a bunch of good looking people having a time of their life. And I said, it appears that I'm the only one here that's depressed because we just got our asses kicked. The problem with the country is the Republican Party. Apparently he didn't like that too well, because he walked away, and we found out he was a scumbag anyways, hooking up with a prostitute in the parking garage in one of the casino hotels. I'm like, well, I was right then too. So, but I just have this immense disdain for the entire political machine. I don't care if it's Austin politics in the state house or Pennsylvania state house. These shitheads always run telling the people I'm going to help. It's all bullshit. I don't care if it's a local. Now look, Wendy Rogers is a friend of mine. I've had her on Patriot Street. I've had her on my stage as a Patriot Street fighter. Love her. You have Jim Jordan. You have other people. Some of my friends that ran, for like Joey Gilbert, Nevada, the election was stolen from him by the criminal sheriff out there, who now became installed as governor. I know these people, and they know I attack the entire architecture like I do viciously, because it's a Khazarian mob machine, and they're put at bay, even if they have good intentions. And I say, if you go to Washington, and I tell people all the time, don't vote for any of these people, these politicians. If they don't talk like Patriot Street Fighter, don't elect them. Don't give them a dime. Why? Yeah. Because if they're not going to attack that machine outside of politics, you think when they bring you in and put you in office and start kissing your ass and massaging you that they're going to fight? It's over, right? Yeah. It's over. You have Jim Jordan and people doing their best that I respect and admire. But so that's really what turned me against all of it, until the one day, by chance, I'm walking past a TV, and I don't know where I was. I see flashes of camera. I look, I stop, and I see Trump coming down the escalator in a tux with Melania. And I don't know if I even ever heard of Melania, or I don't really know, but I just thought, wonder what's going on. He hits the bottom of the escalator, podium, whatever. He starts making a speech. And in 5 minutes, I thought he's making a presidential announcement. I'm like, well, I don't care about this bullshit. Although I never stopped researching, attacking even the Republican Party online. But I'm watching him, and I was like, then he's talking. He's like, they're fake news. Look at him back there. They're fake news. Wham! It's like the sledgehammer hit me full throttle, like for the second time, coming out of a grave. Wham! That hit me. And I was like, holy Mary, Mother of God, there he is. I never saw him coming, because I knew that was what I saw, that was a human being. I've said for 10, 15 years, unfortunately, there's no Ronald Reagan on the horizon anywhere. He's not to be found. Yeah. Boom, there's Trump. And I was like, holy shit. I got on my start texting people, stop whatever you're doing. Get in front of the TV. You got to see this. This is a Republican nominee and landslide president. So I go to Facebook, That's the first mistake. Go to Facebook. I got pounded for 18 months on Facebook
Wow.
for
Wow.
Trump. And that's by my Republican friends, mind you.
Mm.
But it's
Yeah, yeah,
all
I know how that feels. I'm from LA actually originally, and I remember when I started posting about Trump because you know what it was about Trump. Being in media, I started realizing the bullshit that they're doing with editing tricks, and you have footage that's this long, and you take this little section and you bookend it with commentary that makes the guy look like an animal. And it was very obvious to me in around 2017, 2018 when I started posting that. I'm like, just from a producer's point of view, and imagine my Facebook friends are like, 1,500 Hollywood people that are all producers. They all know the editing tricks and stuff. And even with that, even with the truth facing them, I was the one that was losing Facebook friends because they just couldn't handle that I was leaving the box. It's like at that time it was Hillary Clinton. And anybody that said, even if you said Bernie Sanders around this crew, they would look at you like you're a traitor, basically, because they're all similar, like-minded people that all follow the same thing. I mean, it's communism manifest, if you ask me,
Well, I'm telling you, I didn't know that story, but brother, my hat's off to you. That's being a badass because you're walking like you and Gene Ho, deep in the middle of it. You walk away, or not, you didn't walk away. You came to the light of truth and then you espoused the truth and they all walked away from you.
Yeah, yeah.
That takes balls. You're talking your entire social stature that you built is wiped out.
Yeah,
But then, of course, you find by doing the right thing, look where you are now. You
exactly.
have it all back in spades because now you're surrounded by people that love you, care about you, know you're a badass. They'll step up and defend you because if you're a true patriot, you're defending everybody that believes in this mission. And the ones that don't attack each other, they're not worth listening to. I've always said
Wow.
any podcast where people attacking others, shut them off. They're from the dark. They're from low frequency energy, and it can't do you any good. But here you are. Look where you are now, making a major impact because that's what we're here to do.
That means a lot, man, because especially coming from you, because I know the journey you've gone through, and that's like a compliment squared to the power of 100. Thank you very much for that. It's crazy because also my family background, I see what's happening in terms of my ancestral background, and it's really scary what's happening in this country. It seems like we're on the verge of falling apart. I mean, what do you think is coming next? What do you think if we could do a future prediction about what the future holds? What do you think the challenges at hand are? Are we going to survive this? Is our country going to fall apart? People think the economy is about to collapse and crater, and we're going to get into wars or civil wars. I mean, where do you think realistically this is all going?
Well, we're in deep shit. I mean, no matter what people think, and most people know I have a positive framework on everything. And I've said, look, I know we win this thing. And people say, well, how do you know? And I'm like, I can't give them a laundry list. I can almost say, I don't know how I know, but I'm telling you 1000%. We win this thing for all the marble. We're putting an end to this satanic empire. And we
Mm.
are, and it's not going to come without a price. I mean, I implore you to have Dr. Robert Young on your show.
I'm gonna
That's
write that
why
down.
I was just late for you
Hmm.
because this hero, modern day gladiator, scientist, PhD, doctorate, researcher, biologist, this guy's been taking on big pharma for decades to tell you flat out, none of these none of these things are even viruses. You don't get sick from germs coming in. If there are germs inside of you, they're as a result of metabolic breakdown because of an imbalanced life on the inside.
Yeah.
They've had agents by the dozens show up on his ranch, arrest him. They cannot afford to have his knowledge and information coming out, especially what I'm about ready to unleash today on
Oh
the
wow.
truth about East Palestine. It'll be out by 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight.
On your
I'm
show.
employing. Yes, it's coming out on Patriot Street Fighter tonight. I employ everybody, every podcaster out there. Anybody, download my video, take it, upload it, use it. I mean, I don't get pissed when people have stolen my work or whatever. It's
Mhm.
happened from day one. I said, look, I'm never selling my information. It's always going to be free. It belongs to the universe. If you want to steal my shit and monetize it, you want to put a channel up and call yourself Patriot Street Fighter, you're a scumbag, those 100 plus of you people that do that. But the purpose for me is to disseminate information. if you're going to do it in a scumbag way, I'm at least going to win with your scumbag ways because you're getting important information out. I don't care if you make $1 million on it. Do it.
Yeah.
Get it
Yeah.
out there in front of the world. So I
You're
tell
about
people
the mission. Yeah.
the mission, take this information
Yeah.
or this video, upload it, get people's attention, bring Dr. Robert Young on your show, learn about this massive bio attack, a chemical warfare against the people, East Palestine. Learn everything that he's gonna share today, and find out what's really going on here. So it's going to be these kind of things, Vem, that wake people the hell up. As I've been saying, Washington D.C. is the epicenter of global human destruction.
Mm-hmm.
The Vatican is the Khazarian mobsters' spiritual arm. The City of London is their financial arm. Washington, D.C. is their military arm. They're using our heroic, highly trained heroes, send them into these places to rain hell down on earth.
Yep.
And it, with the right intention, that's why that they're going to be elevated in the spiritual realm, because they were told a lie, and they're learning this. That it's all been a lie of what they've used, done with their amazing, training out. But they send our soldiers out there to wreak havoc, on the world, where they can't break the back of a regime that doesn't want a Rothschild central bank in their country. They don't want to be enslaved. Send us in. We kill and murder lots of people from the air with bombs. Not our soldiers. These are commands from these killers.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening on the planet. So, not sure what the question was, but
on that topic, I mean, you have a lot of soldiers that do that. They return. I mean, it's home with PTSD. It's almost like the way Hamas uses citizens of Gaza as essentially human shields, is the way these mobsters are using Americans. Like, literally, just, I mean, we're talking about millions have died because of this particular group. I mean, is there a chance that we could actually get this particular group out of our politics and the cancer that they bring to our country?
I believe so. It's going to take time. There's only one way out of this. There's only one. I said this the very day that I had a radio show back in January 2020. I got pissed because they launched their new weapons, Antifa, BLM, destroying cities while the governors and mayors were sitting there, police commissioners, not only allowing them to do it, helping them, dropping crates of bricks in downtown nowhere where there's no construction. So I saw this. I started the tipping point on Revolution Radio, became the high octane, full throttle truth hammer, as I call it, shitstorm down. And then I do my first live stream ever, mainly because my friend Jim Boffel said, would you do a Zoom into my house on a Sunday for our barbecue and explain to these business people what's happening now that they stole the Trump election? And so I did. And I put it on my YouTube channel, which was I was uploading my radio shows. So it got all kinds of attention. I thought, well, I really need to do this on a broader scale to explain to people what's happening. On November 12th, 2020, I had the first broadcast live stream, and I explained what's happening. Folks, this is what's happening. And then when the election was stolen, it might have been when we had the inauguration, that I said to people, look, yes, there is. I know General Flynn said there's no plan. And I say, well, that's just because General Flynn's a liar. General Flynn is military intelligence. We were told misinformation is real. Misinformation is necessary. That's always warfare. So I said to the people, look, there is a white hat military alliance happening here in 22 nations. There are good people that are part of this initial plan when 200 generals got together in a secret meeting after they killed Kennedy to realize how powerful these bankers are and how they can bring it down. And it's been this many decades in the making to infiltrate the infiltration machine and bring it down from the inside. But as I've said, here's your insurance policy. If you're afraid, you think Trump ain't going to do it to the military, the insurance policy is we the people hold the power constitutionally. And if we can't do it constitutionally because they are criminals, all of DC, we have the numbers. We the people of the planet outnumber these bastards by the billions. We just stand up. We stand up. And we start moving forward in whatever fashion we have to. We started out with the school boards. They're being taken out in many areas. Stupid people who are criminally minded, because they'll steal elections and they'll put this horrific shit on our kids. It's the city and town councils, boards of supervisors. Start destroying their architectural foundation by taking them out. The way to the top will collapse. We can't go after the top. We take the foundation out, right? So if we do that, these massive chemical attacks in the United States on the people, you say, how do we overcome that? You get enough on their feet. Politicians are cowards. They always have been. That's why they're vermin that work their way into the power structure. They don't have the courage to go out on the business battlefield or the corporate area or whatever and build themselves through the competition to be their best and rise. They go in, like Ayn Rand would describe in Atlas Shrugged. These vermin go into the political architecture where they can trade and kiss ass and do whatever they're going to do to get in a position to make decisions on the rest of us, because they can't operate and survive and excel in this call it a capitalist world that we live in, right? They can't win there. They have to do it scumbaggery. Once we all stand up, or masses of us, they get scared because they're like, what if? What if this powder keg goes off against us and these people come rushing the gates? What do? Grab as much money, run. They're scared, they run away. Look at the school board in Arizona. They did it. Vail, Arizona. Hundreds of people showed up. What did those chicken shit cowards on the Vail school board do that were masked and you're going to wear a mask, your kids, we don't care, whatever. Chicken shit cowards in Vail, Arizona school board. They not only ran out of the building and went home like chicken shit cowards, they all resigned right there. That's what politicians are. When the weight of the people come on them, the chicken shit cowards get scared, back up, whatever. And that's the only thing that's going to help us get over this is, and what does it mean? It'll cascade into other moves to bring conscious Christian, Christ-like, Buddhist-like, Taoist-like, high spiritual beings on the planet, what they know, bring that consciousness down on top of their low frequency, negative dark energy, and the Christ consciousness of light coming at them makes their self go and retreat without even saying boo. That's what we have to do. That's how we beat them.
How much of this corruption, this scumbaggery, do you attribute to the Bar Association, aka the British British Accreditation Regency is what it stands for?
Yeah, registry, I believe it is British Accreditation Registry, which means all of our attorneys are, not knowing it or not, are loyal to the crown, the British crown. That's how they got control of us. It's like we had scumbags in government, in presidencies that are quote unquote our historic heroes. Bullshit. Some were Rothschild agents like Benjamin Franklin. Like these people, it's the historical narrative they've always put on the people, and we buy into it because they say so, and they deliver a lot of good with the one thing that can be hidden under there that's a grenade. DeSantis, Florida, same shit. If you have mainstream media rain and sunshine on their new darling Republican who they hate anyways, what does that tell you? Go look deep, look underneath it all, and look at a guy who's voted with the cabal 95% of his time when he's in Washington. Look for a guy who delivers all these heroic Superman victories. We're going to end this bullshit in Florida. You're not doing it here. However, right underneath all of it slides in legislation that he signed that allows them, in a declaration of an emergency, to force quarantine, force vaccinate, to give the criminals legal status to kill you or enslave you. That's what DeSantis weaves in under. But people will still say, well, I don't like that, but he did all this, this, and this. Shut the hell up. This is the kill shot. Wake the hell up.
Exactly.
That's the fucking kill shot. Use your head. That's how they got all of us, and they're still doing it. When you sit back and say, yeah, DeSantis, look, here's a simple fact. As they said after the Civil War, I think it was Grant said, look, there are two parties in the country. There are patriots and there are traitors. That's it. Patriots and traitors. We have patriots and stupid people that refuse to learn. Look, if I would have known it was this easy to fool the people, hell, I would have taken over the Western Hemisphere by the time I was 40. If I'd have known it was this, right? People, wake up. There's one man that walked in. There's two men. Kennedy walked in and said, there is a plot to enslave every man, woman, and child in this country. And before I this high and noble office. I'm going to expose this plot. And they
Mhm.
killed him 6 blocks
Yep.
from here, right down the road there.
Yep.
That was Kennedy. Who else came after him? Donald Trump, right after him. No bullshit rhetoric like DeSantis and all this other bullshit. Who, by the way, they removed Trump supporters from his book signing who are away from him in a parking lot with their signs. The
Wow.
free speech guy, the courage to be free, and here's DeSantis goons are sending over people, get them out of here. Really? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to be free and say I like Donald Trump. Same bullshit.
Yeah.
Wake up,
Yep.
people. Wake up.
DeSantis
You know-
is a bar agent. DeSantis is the typical bar agent. Every time on the surface, yes, he does things that look like he's about freedom and stuff. But when you actually look at the stuff he's doing behind the scenes, it's like he's basically going right with whatever the bar wants, whatever the bar's profit wants, including many anti-family bills that he's signed himself.
True. And exactly. That's exactly right. He also voted against the wall being built when Donald Trump was in power. Now, here's the thing. You have to, I don't understand at this point why it's hard for people to acquiesce to just common sense to what they see. But we were told specifically in 3 years of intelligence, there's a number of pieces of information in there that you have to at least consider. We were told military is the only way. Number one. Number two, it had to be this way, which means what? That they just launched a chemical weapons attack that's going to affect 100 million people north, northeast, a little west, and as far south as even Texas.
You're talking about Ohio.
Ohio. Oh, wait till you learn the facts. Wait till you learn the facts of it all.
Which, by the way, Scott, I want to quickly note that because we're recording this, we're actually airing this on Tuesday at 6 p.m. We're going to do it on a prime time slot. So I know you're going to reveal this information on your show, but just know that this is airing on Tuesday. So feel free, at liberty to talk about it in whatever detail you want,
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I actually think having Dr. Robert Young come up here, and I know by now you've talked to him because I'm going to put you in touch with him. I'm going to put you in touch with him. Or I have already put him in touch, folks. I already put him in touch with him. So if you don't see Dr. Robert Young coming on Vem Miller show, you start dropping a hammer on Vem Miller. So when you learn the truth about this chemical weapons attack, you're going to be pissed that understand they're going to keep coming. Their job is to wipe us out. It's in their writing and their own words being recorded and filmed all over the place. It's all there. So this is a we the people operation. Number one, it had to be this way. People say, how can they let this stuff happen? Let it happen. Number one, pardon me, this is why Patriot Street Fighter is so effective. I'll wipe my nose with my shirt in front of 1 billion people. I don't give a shit. I never edit anything I ever shoot or film, like for myself, I never edit any of it. Even when I'm burning meatloaf and I got to say, hold on a second, my meatloaf is dripping over and it's going to set the smoke alarms off again. Right? I run away, pull the meatloaf out of the oven. Here we are. Let's go. So, but number one, military is the only way. Number two, it had to be this way. This death machine had to be left go. Why? We can't get it. We will not get it until it's on our doorstep, till the enemy is right at our doorstep, ready to take us out. Finally, those who are still dead asleep, the walking dead, are going to say, holy shit, Scott McKay is not a lunatic after all. Well, they may not agree to that, but they'll say, holy shit, Scott McKay wasn't lying after all. Or anybody else, all these other podcasters out there that are trying to wake people up. We're not going to get it until it's right on top of us. That has to be that way. Number three, also in that intelligence was it's a military / civilian alliance. What does that mean? A military / we the people. Military's not saving us. Trump's not saving us. Jesus isn't saving us. We are going to save ourselves working with all of them, including Christ's consciousness. We are the ones that have to earn our spiritual ascension to get closer to our creator. Free will. Remember, folks? Oh, God told me this. God told me to do that. God said to do this. God said to do that. I'm glad people are connected to God that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, where does free will come in? Am I being
Yeah.
dictated by my creator? No. Set up the playing field. You have the choice. If you ask me to come into your spiritual physical realm, I'll come in and I will be part. You'll have come out of you through, or you'll come out of me through you into the reality you want to create. But it's really up to me. It's really up to us. It's not up to God to take away our spiritual journey. You can't
Mm-hmm.
go anywhere without a journey. You can't get to the grocery store without a journey. You can't beat back hunger without a journey. You can't get well physically without a journey to the fields to grab the right foods. Everything
Mm-hmm.
is a journey. Nobody's going to do anything for us. We have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
If we
The
do it,
Bible instructs us
it
so
never
much. I mean, sorry.
happens. No, I just said if we do it ourselves, this never happens ever again on this planet. Ever again. Why? Because there will be billions of us that'll never allow the future generations to ever allow this to happen again. It'll be seated in our DNA, in our language, our teaching of history, our course correcting all the history that they lied about. We
Mm-hmm.
do it, it never ever comes back. And they who have military power, who have the power of the Christ consciousness, they are going to facilitate us winning this war.
Wow. Wow. From your mouth to God's ears, I really hope this is why we fight,
Well,
Scott.
it was actually from God's mouth to my ears. That's really how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, is there anything in closing you'd like to talk about? Is there anything that we didn't chat about that you'd want to bring up? Any websites, URLs, projects, passions,
Well, yeah, you can always find what I'm doing at patriotstreetfighter.com. That's the website. Um, the two things most prominently come to me, Vem, is that my message is a bit different than it was from the beginning. Is the information I get, and this is intelligence. Most people just get information; they call it
Mm-hmm.
intelligence. Most of what I get is information. A little bit of what I get is intelligence coming from special operations. But I don't even focus on all of that because there's a lot of great guys and girls and guys out there that are disseminating information to facilitate the Great Awakening. My transition from that is that my whole platform is get into the fight. It's General Flynn's platform. He says local action has national impact. What is he saying in Patriot Street Fighter language? Get in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've been trying to do, is get people into the fight on any level, and also now from the spiritual level to help people understand, okay, we're going to win this thing. It's going to take action, but you don't bring a system down, right? The satanic Luciferian order down and then say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's rebuild. It has to be done simultaneously, or it's a devastating social cataclysmic world
Mm-hmm.
we live in, which weakens us and they can still come back. It has to be built on the way up. Okay, so I tell people, everybody says, oh, it's a spiritual war. Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that mean to you? Do you buy into it? Do you believe it? Yeah, okay, show me.
Mm-hmm.
They can't show you, right? You can't pray your way out of this. You can't use prayer beads. You can't read a Bible every night. You have to connect with your creator. You
Mm-hmm.
have to, we all are meditating and shutting the hell up. People pray, right? Please,
Mm-hmm.
God, do this. Please help me get rich. Please this. Please cure my disease. Please stop being fucking helpless. Why did he give you the gifts that he gave Christ?
Mm-hmm.
It's simple. Shut up. Shut up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Silence.
Exactly.
Let God talk to you and give you inspiration to do what next. I've been telling people, and here's my point, Ben. I'm sorry to overrun your
No worries.
question.
No worries.
We've got to start projecting the Christ consciousness on that entity. How? Here's what I talk about. Okay, this generation or generations of humans on a planet, first time, nobody's had the opportunity. We do, to rebuild the Garden of Eden. What is that going to look like to you? Start thinking as we're constructing humans, the Garden of Eden. We've destroyed the Luciferian order. We're constructing the Garden of Eden. What would that feel like if you're part of it? You walk out into the street. What do you see? I see, oh my God, look at all the parents out there in the yard loving and hugging their kids, and they're
Mhm.
squealing and giggling and they're throwing. This is Wednesday. Shouldn't everybody be at work? Look how happy everybody is. What? Wait a minute. What is that? That's a healing center. That's
Mhm.
a natural that you walk in and there's a problem and you come out and
You're
they're
cured.
building. That's what they're building. Start thinking of this. How
Yeah.
exciting that is. So
Yeah.
that's the first thing I'd say. We need to start thinking and meditating how the world's going to look. Why? Because
Mhm.
action will come out of it. The quantum force of that light
Mhm.
energy coming down on this scumbag Luciferian dark energy, low frequency, it
Mhm.
causes it to retract. It's critical. That's the spiritual war. And
Yeah.
the second thing is, I am actually right now under construction with a bioscalar healing center here in Dallas, the biggest one that's been built with the Dr. Sandra Rose Michaels EE system to date, the largest system to date. Why?
Mhm.
Because if I'm going to talk about big pharma, as much as I love them for doing what they do to me, where they step out of their boundaries and they're using it as an attack machine on humanity, I gotta call my own bullshit. I gotta go into business with this kind of bioscalar, wellness system where you walk in and that
Mhm.
conjugated photonic field causes your DNA to reactivate, restructure, and start doing what it's supposed to do. The power that created the body is the same power that heals it without all these poisonous chemicals. I got to get in the fight there, and I am. I'm investing an extraordinary amount of money so I can go right forward, folks. Here's what I'm doing. I'm pushing this Tesla bioscalar energy onto this, at least this area, as our 200 other businesses now that popped up in 8 months from Dr. Sanders' interviews. We're
Mhm.
going after full force. So I'm not just saying do this, I'm doing it on every level. Imagine if a billion people or even a million all say, I subscribe to that. I'm going to start thinking my way onto winning this war and change in the world. Guess what? You don't have to leave your house to do that.
Yeah.
Your energy, it's quantum physics, your conscious energy, send it out like a sentinel to go on offense, right?
Mhm.
In the world. Those are the 2 points of my message that I have to say.
That's awesome, Scott. That's awesome. And the one message I have for the viewer, and we touched upon this earlier with the Facebook friends and going out on the line and having people turn their backs against you. People are scared. People are scared to dive into this world, to go out of the box, to go out of the mainstream narrative. And what I could say, and you said this, Scott, earlier, is that you find these enriching relationships, like this conversation we've had in this last hour, more fulfilling than probably what happened in 6 months working in Hollywood. You know what I mean? And that's where you find these individuals, you find these great people that enrich you, that help you grow. And honestly, it's brought me closer to God, because when I'm surrounded by people that understand the Christ consciousness, and you're surrounded with people like that, that energy feeds into you. It really does enrich your life. And frankly, the 6-figure, 7-figure salaries in Hollywood start becoming less important in life, because that will actually feed your soul, feed your mind. And it's just a special, wonderful thing. So just want to make that point, Scott.
That's cool you said that. And you know what's, I just love the smile and energy on your face, Vem, because you were there, right?
Mhm.
And it can be painful when all that moves away from you. What are you left with? It's kind of like this: getting married, right? You're with somebody for whatever period of time. And you're like, well, this is the next natural step that, getting married. A guy said to me once, he said, Scott, it's a very wise man. And one of my mentors when I was younger, he said, you don't marry somebody you can live with. You marry somebody you can't live without.
Exactly.
And that never left my head. And that doesn't, explain my course, my track of life and marriage and divorce and all those kind of things. But what it does do, if you are looking for a soulmate, by rushing into something that's not your passion or whatever, that person, whatever, what happens if the person that you were supposed to be connected to in this lifetime, your soul, your counterpoint, walks right by you and you're powerless to do anything about it,
Mhm.
right? So I look at friendships that way. I don't hang on. Friends are dear to me, but I don't hang on to them for dear life if they're not in alignment
Mhm.
with my quantum direction. And what did that do? What it has done is has opened up my world as Patriot Street Fighter, as offensive as it can be seen by many people. And I totally understand that. I'm just glad my mother's not still alive to
Mhm.
see her son's public persona, because she'd be like, what happened to my son, right?
Really?
But
She wouldn't be down with the accent stuff, or
oh my god, well, no, like my language, like in front of the world.
oh.
Everybody knew me as a statesman. Like I've been polished through my life because
Mhm.
I'm gonna be running for the U.S. Senate one day, and they're gonna look back at my whole life. They're gonna like my friends used to call me the statesman when shit would blow up in a business setting or a
Mhm.
partnership or whatever. I'd never say anything. I'd just sit back and watch it all. I'd put the whole thing together. I'd say nothing, let all the people talk and negotiate. I'm like, just sit back. I'm not necessary. Let them do it. But then when it blows up, they come to me and they send me in there to repair the damage because I can diplomatically build bridges. That's how people know me.
Mhm.
Look at me now. They're like, what the hell happened to Scott McKay? He's a raving
Mhm.
lunatic. But my point is this: if you hang on to these relationships, sometimes you're if you believe in your creator and your purpose, you're supposed to move in a different direction. So now, here's an example: those people that you're talking about, and people think I'm probably bragging about this, and I don't really care what they think. But here's the truth: Sasha Stone reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Hey, Sue Wong, this iconic fashion designer in Hollywood, Sue Wong is excited to invite you to her gala that she's having. She's going to showcase the palazzo that she rebuilt. She's a clothing fashion designer, but she has these magnificent properties, historical, and she'll do amazing things and renovate these. And you see this masterpiece, and she's excited to invite me to come to it. So I'm with Sasha. We got to her. She has a beautiful place, uh, Zuma Beach, up on the hills, like you'd expect somebody of that kind of stature and wealth. So when I finally go to actually meet her in person, I'm going to need to broadcast. So she sets a place up in the Cedars, this magnificent historical mansion that she redid, to broadcast from there. And she's facilitating my schedule. And she's Sue Wong. And she's telling me, Scott, you're my hero, right? And I'm like, oh my
Wow.
God. Here I am raining a shitstorm down for my purposes. And these people, the guy that was on Bold and Beautiful, you guys remember him? He's Ron Moss is his name. He was the guy
Mhm.
that played Ridge Forrester. He was the signature face, like this
Mhm.
real handsome guy. And I know I have four sisters. I grew
Yeah.
up around her body.
Yeah.
So he comes in the house and he walks over, puts his arms out, gives me a big hug. He's like, "Man, it's so good to meet you." And I'm like, holy shit. His wife, again, same beautiful, Devin De Velasquez, very successful in her own right in business. And she was a playmate and she was an entertainer, dated Prince and all these people. So here they're expressing reverence to me. And we're at her house. And here comes Scott Page, who's now kind of a soulmate buddy, from Pink Floyd. I'd never met Scott before. He walks in, he just looks and he goes, "Oh, man, Patriot Street Fighter, you're such a badass. You're standing
Oh
right here."
wow.
He goes, "I can't believe it." And he comes over and gives me a hug. And he's like, "Man," he said, "I freaking love you." And I'm like, what's going on here? Right. So
Mhm.
here's the thing, because I don't hang on to things in this world, material or otherwise. I don't
Yeah.
hang on to them because I can't go on the journey that I was put here to go on. So now look at these beautiful people who once they'd have walked away from you, dude. Me too. 2 years ago, three. Sue
Yeah.
Wong was with the Hollywood elite, that mentality, that liberal mentality. You know what she did? She wakes up, she by choice, I don't even hang around those people anymore.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
invites people to her events. Well, for them, not all of them that think like us, but she stands in front of that crowd that night of 300 people. Kelsey Grammer's over there against the wall, other people. And she says, "I want to introduce you to my hero, Patriot Street Fighter," hands me a microphone.
Wow. Wow. That is
Right?
awesome.
Now, what am I saying about this? I'm Joe Lunchbucket Scott McKay from Podunkville, Pennsylvania, right? I come from Redneckville, PA. I can fit in with anybody, right? Anywhere.
Mhm.
So that is the result of believing I was created by the same creator that created Christ, who wants us to understand we all have the power,
Mhm.
and also that my life counts, as does everybody else. They're not
Yeah.
here just to exist and get through the life and have a moment's happy. They're here to create an impact on their world, on the whole world. And with understanding that, you realize if you hang on to a job or a relationship or a friendship or this house or this land or this vehicle, talk about a brilliant architecture they built to get us committed to hanging onto something
Yes.
and staying in place and never choosing to rise.
Yep. Yep.
Scary to me.
Keeping us in that lower frequency, you know? Yep.
Yeah.
Scott, this was awesome, man. This was awesome. Sorry, dude, what were you saying?
No, I said I appreciate you because you were there, dude. You know the allure of that world and you're working with it and in it, and you want to be a higher part of it. I get it. I was in that world too, to a degree. I walked away from it back in 2004.
Yeah.
And here you are. Here you are. You know, you are launching your own revolution to help save the planet and humanity. Don't underestimate it. I mean, I'm honored to be here. And you come up with a show called Blood Money. Dude, talk about it all. And I'm like, hell yeah, bro. By the way, that skull there, that's George Soros. That skull right there. This
nice.
That skull's Klaus Schwab, right?
Oh,
And right between those two dipshits is right there the armor of God, right?
Oh, that's
exactly.
beautiful. That's beautiful. My producing partner always wears that, and he's like, he hasn't taken it off for like I think a decade or something. The armor of God.
Yeah, somebody said you need to put on the armor of God. I'm like, all right, I got to go to the biker shop and find myself something that has the armor of God on it. I found that perfect ring.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Scott, thank you so much for showing up for the Blood Money podcast. We really appreciate your time. And, you know, thank you for all this amazing work you're doing, man. You are an inspiration to us. And I mean, I see divinity in what you do, honestly. So thank you very much. For the viewers out there, thanks for showing up for the Blood Money podcast. Please check out americahappens.com, where daily we have our new episodes posted. And I will see you on the next episode of Blood Money. Thank you.